Good morning. I'm Dr. Ayşe Kaskan from Yale University. During the next 13 to 15 minutes, I will present a brief overview of the Wilson disease registry study. Let me start with sharing my screen. Yes. So Wilson disease registry is a multi-center international study that is developed under the leadership of Dr. Michael Shelsky at Yale University. Aims of the study are to better define the natural history of Wilson disease, to define the clinical variations in disease and changes over time, to understand the outcome of the disease with treatment, to explore better methods, for example, for neurologic scoring system, copper analysis, determining bioavailable copper, or estimating liver fibrosis. These aims are actualized through annual clinical assessments, analysis of the documented data, and specimen collection and processing. Clinical evaluations are completed in three main categories. One, assessment of liver by reviewing medical and medication history, calculating liver scores, and completing cirrhosis assessments. Two, assessment of neurologic functioning using Unified Wilson Disease Rating Scale, also known as UWDRS, Pediatric Stroke Outcome Measures, PSOM, and Denver Developmental Screening Test. Three, assessment of mental health by using validated instruments such as Mini International Neuropsychiatric Interview and Montreal Cognitive Assessment, as well as self-assessments and parental assessments for children. This is the timeline for the registry. After enrollment visit in two main cohorts, adults and pediatrics, our study participants return to clinic once a year. At the end of fifth year, each study participant is re-evaluated for their clinical stability and moved to the extension phase. At this point, there are two alternatives. If the patient is stable, annual follow-ups continue via only chart review. If the patient is not stable based on clinical and biochemical findings, visit continue in person. At the end of the study, all patients return to the clinic for a final in-person visit. Our first patient was enrolled in December 2017 and completed the initial phase of the study as of January 2023. And with the generous and continuous support from Wilson Disease Association, the 5-year extension for enrolled patients has been approved as of the beginning of this month. Currently, 180 patients have been enrolled to the registry. Among them, 59 are pediatric patients, and 16 of these pediatric patients transitioned to the adult cohort once they reached the age of consent. The plateau in these graphs is seen here, here, and here, reflects the period that research activities were suspended or limited due to COVID-19 pandemic. This map shows the locations of Wilson Disease Registry study sites: Yale University in Connecticut, Baylor College of Medicine, Texas Children in Texas, Heidelberg University in Germany, Royal Surrey County Hospital in UK, Seattle Children's Hospital in Washington, Advent Health Hospital in Florida, Wake Forest University in North Carolina, and Aarhus University Hospital in Denmark. Currently, male to female ratio in our study is about 51% to 48%. And the youngest patient participated our study was 3 months old, whereas the oldest patient was at age 74. The mean age for the participants was 30 years. Our participants diagnosed at the different stages of their lives. Their age of diagnosis ranged between at birth to 68 years, with the mean diagnosis age of 17 and a half years. Today, my time is limited, but I would like to at least share 2 examples of the data we collected during our first years of registry study. So often, a time gap is observed between the initial appearance of Wilson disease-related symptoms and actual diagnosis. So it was important for us to catalog the initial symptoms related to Wilson disease. So here what we observed among our patients, 19.21% of them initially had hepatic symptoms only. Hepatic symptoms. 31% of them had psychiatric symptoms, and about 28% of them presented with neurologic symptoms. But please also note that some of these patients had symptoms in more than one categories. Here is another examples about the data we collected regarding the Wilson disease medication. Main categories of medications being D-penicillamine, triantine, various types of zinc, and investigational agents. We captured the treatment types and change in time for each patient. On the left, you see distribution of treatment modalities when our patients came in first time, and on the right is what they had at the end of the 4 years. Similarly, here we see the change in medication categories between the enrollment and at the year 4 follow-up among our pediatric patients. This slide contains the list of manuscripts published based on registry data or in collaborations with other institutions, data collected in various institutions. For instance, we contributed to work of Dr. Hahn and Dr. Harrington, and their works published on 2020 and 2021. The following 3 slides include a list of abstracts presented at the major international meetings. I highlighted 1 poster from each year, just as an example, and included 4 of these posters in my presentation. So here, for instance, this poster titled Major Depressive Disorder in Patients with Wilson Disease, Relationship with Liver Disease, Neurologic Disease, and Quality of Life, presented by Dr. Camarata at the 55th annual meeting of the European Association for the Study of the Liver in 2022. Dr. Camarata highlighted high prevalence of depression among Wilson disease patients and the importance of mental health care for this population. And this poster was presented at the annual meeting of the American Association for the Study of the Liver in 2021 by Dr. To. In the conclusion of this poster, Dr. To highlighted the pressing needs for better surrogate markers of copper balance, so treatment recommendations can rely on more accurate measures. This poster was presented at annual meeting of the American Association for the Study of Liver last year in 2022. Its title read as Accurate Non-Ceruloplasmin Bound Copper, ANCC, a new method for the assessment and monitoring of Wilson disease based on HPLC ICP mass spectrometry. This is a way of accurately measuring bioavailable copper. In the study, we noted that patients without Wilson disease had higher level of bioavailable copper, whereas the patient with Wilson disease, although they are under treatment, showed lower level of bioavailable copper. But there was an overlap. And this is actually the area of investigations for our further studies. So this is the last poster I will be sharing with you, and it's my last slide. So the poster titled Impacts of COVID-19 Pandemic on Depression, Anxiety, and Cognition in Patients with Wilson Disease. It was presented at annual meeting of the American Psychiatric Association earlier this year. And after analyzing the surveys from our registry patients in combinations with their self-assessment, we noted that the pandemic didn't actually cause any worsening of anxiety and cognitive functioning among the patients with Wilson disease. And only those experienced income loss reported higher stress and anxiety. But certainly we need further assessment to understand, and in a probably larger group of patients, to reach a better conclusions. So with this, I will conclude my presentation, and I would like to thank Wilson Disease Association team for their continuous support, and of course our investigators for their contributions. But more than anything, last but not least, I would like to thank our study participants and their families, because certainly without their generosity, dedication, patience, and support, this study wouldn't be possible. And before I move to the questions, I would like to take a moment to remember our beloved colleagues, late Dr. Tamir Milo and Mayor Graper, who were valuable parts of Wilson Disease Registry family. Thank you again for your time and listening patiently. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have. Greetings, everyone. Thank you for being here, like right before lunchtime, I guess. First of all, thank you again for being here, and I am sure there are a number of you participated registry study. Thank you for your time, your dedication, your support. And also Wilson Disease Association has been amazing support throughout the registry study for this past year. If you have any questions, actually you could scroll down and submit them. For now, let me see. Okay. So for now, we do not have any standing questions, but if you have any, please submit it. But I also would like to note that you can get my contact information from association or even on the NIH website. I'm sorry, like the Clinical Trials Gov website. And if you have any specific questions regarding yourself or any loved one, you can reach out to me. And as many of our speakers already highlighted, the importance, it is very important to have a multidisciplinary approach to Wilson disease. And one of the goals of registry is actually to create this model. And again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me in person or okay, so we have one question here. I'm curious as to why Toronto General is still not involved with the study. This is more of a follow-up from the last time I saw an update on this project. And French Wilson disease patient living in France. Oh, I'm sorry, that's another question. Actually, that is a legitimate question. We are looking forward to expand the registry in anywhere we have actually dedicated investigators and of course the resources. And we are hoping that registry will expand throughout the years as long as we have dedicated communities and dedicated investigators willing to take part in it. And I'm a French Wilson disease patient living in France. Can I enroll in the patient registry? Yes, absolutely. We have a number of international sites in Europe. You are more than welcome to reach out to PIs, primary investigators in those sites. Logistically, I don't know what would work better, but we have a site in France. I'm sorry, we have a site in new established site in Denmark, and also in Germany. And we also have a number of patients actually traveling to US, to Yale from overseas to participate in study. We could talk, I mean, if you would like to reach out to me, then we can discuss it further in terms of logistic and such. Another question, are there plans for a hospital in Canada to join Wilson disease registry so that we could join the study? Actually, I think it is I don't know if it's the same person, but it's the repetition of the question. But again, a very good question. Our goal is to reach out, all different locations all over the world. But as you can understand, it takes resources and dedicated investigators, and we are hoping that that could happen one day as well. So we can, a group from Canada could join as well. What organization leads the study and registry? So actually, lead is I guess like the good word, but so the Wilson Disease Registry is sponsored by Wilson Disease Association and initiated at Yale University, then expanded. So now the study is led by a group of investigators from various institutions, and we have a committee, and this committee is actually creating the direction of the registry. And if you need any further information, please reach out to me again. My first name, AYSE, last name COSKUN @yale.edu. Another question, what is your opinion on current treatment approaches, standards of care? This is an excellent question, but I believe Dr. Shilsky talked about those already. How is your registry similar to the CF Foundation? I'm not familiar with CF Foundation. If you could spell it out, perhaps I can answer this question. I understand the Wilson Disease Registry is still enrolling patients, and there are particular ages, stages of disease type that are needed in particular. Actually, we are still enrolling patients, and there is no specific age or specific presentation. Our patients actually range between a newborn who completely asymptomatic and diagnosed via prenatal screenings, and we have patients who have very heavy neurologic presentation or liver presentation. So it doesn't matter what the presentation is. The only criteria, main criteria to enroll in registry is to be diagnosed to have a confirmed diagnosis of Wilson disease and being able to consent for the study. And our main exclusion criteria is being a transplant patient. But I should note that if you have not received transplant yet, you are still eligible to enroll the study. And we really value every single patient and contribution that comes from every single one of our Wilson patients, because our ultimate goal is to understand the disease better. And this is an observational study, and we are trying to understand the natural history of the disease better. So every single patient, every single visit, I mean, for instance, till now, I think we completed around 494 visits in all different sites, and every visit actually contributed to our knowledge of Wilson. What body owns the registry? Is it Yale? There is no, we have a committee of investigators, and if, for instance, there is any request to have access to information, the data we collected, the committee of investigators discuss the proposal, and then if they see it fit, then we can move forward with communicating the data we have. But I should also note that all the data possibly shared will be identified, and after being assessed with a group of investigators, a consortium to share. Why are more people on Trientine instead of penicillamine? This is a very good question, but again, the goal of the registry is to document what we see rather than trying to answer the questions. I know, I mean, as a next step, perhaps we can speculate on that as well, but my personal speculation would be because penicillamine is, the older drug, but in our registry, we have many patients, like many pediatric patients as well. And the provider decision would be on this way. And actually, one of the aims, again, of the study is to understand the changes. Like, again, we are an observational study, and we cannot dictate our providers to go one way or another in terms of their treatment or medication choice. Our goal is to observe and see what has been used throughout years and how those changes affected the outcome. And another, I'm sorry, cystic fibrosis and researching their foundation is an expensive registry. Actually, okay, so going back to the question, how is your registry similar to cystic fibrosis foundation? Well, perhaps, again, I don't know enough about, I would like to comment on this in detail, but one thing I could say is, luckily, cystic fibrosis is one of the diseases that we can do newborn screening, and we can identify patients early enough. And Wilson Disease Registry is the first example in the US, and our goal is in time to expand the registry and enroll more patients. But I'm sure there are other reasons, but that's all I can say at this time. And how were the patients in the registry that were asymptomatic diagnosed with Wilson disease? A very good question. Some of our patients are diagnosed through only family screening. So, and some of them diagnosed because the parents were screened for, prior the pregnancy, they were screened for possible mutations. And then we also have some patients like, so the genetic testing is one thing, but also incidental findings. For instance, a patient goes to an ophthalmologist, and ophthalmologists identify KF rings, and they don't have, let's say, any other symptoms. I mean, I'm just speculating. So it is possible to detect Wilson before actually seeing any clear signs and symptoms. How are patients in the registry remunerated? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, what is the relationship of the Wilson Disease Association to the registry? Does Wilson Disease Association own the registry? Again, the Wilson Disease Association is our generous sponsor, and the data collected is controlled by a group of investigators, and those investigators are primary investigators in various sites. And we have in the committee, we also have the representation of Wilson Disease Association. And if we receive any request in terms of specimen sharing or data sharing, we bring this to this consortium and then discuss the feasibility. And so far, actually, we were able to do such collaborations with some educational institutions. And how are the patients in the registry remunerated? I am not clear about this question. So if you could elaborate just a little bit more, then I might be able to answer this question. I think we have only a couple more minutes left. So if you could elaborate this question, what are patients in the registry remunerated?
Well, no other questions coming in right now.
Okay, already. So I think with this, we can conclude. Again, thank you everyone for being here and being part of and those who are part of Registry for your continuous support, and Wilson Disease Association for their continuous support. And looking forward to talking to you more. And if you have any questions, any concerns, or any comments, please feel free to reach out to myself or Dr. Shelsky. We'll be happy to reach out and answer your questions. Thank you so much.